two important and very useful skills covered in Lab 4 Part 5 are: number one, how to run SQL queries at Linux command line, and number two, as a review for most of you, how to prepare inner join statement. So let's talk about running SQL queries at Linux command line. Before running for anything, of course, we want to look into the databases first, so we will know what we are doing with those statements. So to do that, we need to log into the MySQL command line first. Throughout the course, we will mostly use the sales admin account instead of the sales manager account. This makes sense because the sales manager account has only the privileges to run select statements, whereas sales admin has all privileges to run the sales database. Now we are at the MySQL command line. Let's take a look at the databases first, which is what we always do when first logged into a MySQL command line. We want to see what databases this account has access to. In this case, we have access to information schema and the sales databases. We need to then decide which database to use. For us, it's the sales database, of course. After using the database, we can take a look at the tables contained in the database. In this case, we have agents, dealers, and owners. After doing Lab 5, you will have those sales data as well. Now, let's answer the question of how many agents there are in this agents table. Before we answer the question, we always want to take a look at the data of the table. So we would do the usual, select everything from the name of the table, limit 10, which should give us a pretty good sense about what the table looks like. And we can also use another technique, describe table, which will give us a more technical view of what the table is about. For example, what the data types are and what the primary key is. Of course, to count the number of rows in the agent table, we would do select count. We want to count for everything from the name of the table, and this should give us the count of the agents table. So this is how we run queries in the MySQL command line. Let's take a look at this query. So we will be running this query at the Linux command line instead of the MySQL command line. Let's exit or quit the command line, and here this is the technique that we use to run SQL queries at the Linux command line. We would use the same account here with password, but instead of enter to log into the MySQL command line, we want to feed a SQL file here to the MySQL command and account information. So let's do that. Let me Control C to stop here, and let's prepare the demo.sql file to be used. So let's do demo.sql. Because this is a SQL file, so first thing first, we know that after logging in, we need to use the database first, just like when we are in the MySQL command line. So after use it, we want to run the query, select count everything from agents. Don't forget the semicolon here and almost everywhere, because this is how SQL statements end. After that, let's do save. Now we have our demo.sql, so we can run demo.sql just like this. Let's take a look. Oops, wrong password again. Right, so now we have the result here, which is 243. So we have just successfully run a SQL query at the Linux command line. If you take a look at the command we just issued, this guy here is a redirection operator, an input redirection operator. We are actually more familiar with the output redirection operator, for which we could output the results of the command execution to certain file. We have used this technique for quite a few times already. So let's do an output.txt. So now when we run this line of command, instead of printing the results to the command line like this text stream will be redirected to the file here. Enter. Okay, now let's take a look at the output txt. You see, now we have the same result.